to listen to the Lap Traffic Podcast.
What is up, Lap Traffic Nation? Welcome to episode 251 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. I'm your host, the Professor Brandon Crowd. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. What an incredible weekend of racing we had. And hey, we now have 13 different winners out of 22 races, 4 to go in the regular season. Oh, can't believe it. Can't wait to get into that here in just a little bit. But before I do, roast the competition, be the first to the finish line with 5 Lakes Angry Brew. Angry Brew is a massively caffeinated, amazing tasting, high-octane power pack fuel to get you through the day. I could use some of that today. Let me tell you, when you need a power up, reach for Angry Brew Coffee with a Punch. Go to angrybrew.com. Use code LAPPED, LAPPED, get 10% off your order. I gave away a lot of Angry Brew swag last week, along with some Lap Traffic swag. Still got a few more things to give away, so be on the lookout for some more Angry Brew giveaways throughout the rest of the season. Let's see here. Man, it's been a crazy week. It's only Tuesday. The new job, things are crazy early on, which is cool. Happy to be busy, but man, is it Friday yet? Let's see. Speaking of Friday, last Friday went out to dinner with the wife, which is always nice to do. Saturday had a birthday party. Sunday chilled, watched a race, smoked the most delectable meatloaf that I've ever smoked, if I do say so myself. So all good times this past weekend. And this weekend, I'm so excited. He's been on the show a handful of times. He sponsors the Yunker Motorsports car. He is the official charity of the Lap Traffic Podcast. It is Freddie the Pizza Man's annual golf outing. Played in it last year with the Yunkers. Yunkers are going to be in it again this year, and that's this Saturday. It's so much fun. I think there's over 200 golfers. There's going to be a dinner afterwards, all that good stuff. I sponsored a hole, so you know I'll be throwing that out on social media, and I'm doing something really cool. I put it out there yesterday. I ordered some new koozies and stickers and all that kind of stuff, and I have just enough to go and take. I'm going to go throw some koozies and stickers on every golf cart before we all tee off. So I might be blowing up your timeline Saturday afternoon with some pictures from the golf course for Freddie's giveaway, or I'm sorry, Freddie's golf outing, which I'm very excited about. Looking forward to having a good time there. Let's see what else. Hope you guys enjoyed last week's 250th episode. It was so great to have some of the listeners on. Of course, awesome to have the Orange Cone on. And, you know, a listener appreciation week last week, did giveaways every day. People are already getting those in the mail, which is awesome. So much fun last week to do that. I almost didn't do a show this week just to kind of mic drop off 250 and then right off into the sunset for a couple weeks, but then that would have been like 3 weeks without a show, and that would have just been too much. So here I am, excited to be here tonight. But that said, the next show that the Lap Traffic Podcast will be publishing will be on Tuesday, August 10th after Watkins Glen. So if you're new to the show and you're not sure what to do with yourself, because I'm not going to be posting for the next 2 weeks, go check out some old shows in the past. Been some great guests along the way. Ton of Jeff Striegel shows out there. NASCAR Chasm, the Orange Code, a bunch of truck drivers, Xfinity drivers, some Cup along the way. So definitely go scroll back. And, you know, most of the time the interviews are at the front of the show, you know, so I get the racing content might be a little dated. But if you want to go hear some interactions with some great people, you know, go scroll back over the next couple weeks there. All right. So if you haven't figured it out, tonight's guest is me. That's right. I am flying solo. I haven't done a show solo. Not a soul. Not a weather guy. No calls. Nothing. Nobody. Just me. For the next however minutes. So let's see if I bore you with what I've got lined up for you guys. You know, going to talk Xfinity and Cup from Loudon, some social media shout outs. Very big silly season info today. No weather. Got some lucky dogs and a condensed fantasy segment since there's no picks to be had and all that good stuff. So this is about the time I'd get to give you guys a break and not just listen to me, but that's not the case because I don't have a guest. So we're going to get right into some racing talk, and I want to start off with the truck series. And I know we didn't race trucks this weekend, but we only have one more truck race before we start the playoffs.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs?
Sorry, Jim. Got to talk about the playoffs. And yes, one more race to go. And so here's what's crazy. You know, if we break down where we're at, you know, obviously John Hunter Nemechek, we got Ben Rhodes, Austin Hill, Todd Gilliland, Zane Smith, Matt Crafton, Sheldon Creed, Grant Enfinger, Carson Hocevar, Stuart Friesen, Chandler Smith, Derek Kraus. You know, there's our top 12. Grant Enfinger ain't racing for it, you know, so it's an interesting battle for the top 10 right now. You know, there's about a 15-point difference between Stuart Friesen in 10th, Chandler Smith in 11th. You know, and you know, we got Tyler Ankrum outside looking in. We got Johnny Sauter outside looking in. You know, a couple guys, you know, Sauter's just had an abysmal 2 years, and I feel so horrible for the guy because, as I've said numerous times, it's not like he forgot how to race. They just can't piece things together and have just had some horrible luck and nothing go their way. Tyler Ankrum, you know, he's been on a little bit of a hot streak in terms of he's been up there. He's been competing. He's led some laps, almost won a couple of them, but then just had things not go their way, and they're finding themselves on the outside looking in. You know, I wouldn't call Tyler Ankrum a road course driver yet just because he's still so young, but he's had some good performances at the road courses, you know. So could we see something crazy? You know, I talked about it last week in terms of the shit show that we had at Knoxville, basically, and that, you know, part of that ended up being because guys were going for broke. You know, they were trying to win their way into a playoff spot there. So it's crazy to think we only got one more week, and we've got we got 2 weeks basically for these guys to just mull over the fact that they got to wait to go figure out if they're in the playoffs or not. So that's where we're at with the truck series. Over to the Xfinity series. Well, Christopher Bell dominating, putting on a clinic out there in that 54 car. Stage wins, the race win. It's the 8th time the 54 car has been to victory lane this season. We've had Kyle Busch, obviously. We've had Ty Gibbs in that car, and now Christopher Bell taking the 54 to victory lane. Here's again what really impresses me this past weekend in the Xfinity series. You know, Daniel Hemrick, constantly in the top 10. If you need points in the Lap Traffic Fantasy League, Daniel Hemrick is constantly up there in the top 3, top 4 point earners the weekend. So one of these days he's going to strike gold, you know. So look to Daniel Hemrick. Austin Cindric obviously having a typical day. Josh Berry in the 1 car, getting it done. Top 8 there. Great to see him be able to move, you know, and transition to the new team there, and still be able to get things done, which is pretty cool. You know, the Xfinity Series, you know, they still have 7 races to go until the playoffs. You know, you look at the Truck Series, they've got 1 to go. You look at the Cup Series, they've got 4 to go. Xfinity Series still has a few extra races before we get the playoffs going there. And there's a battle, which is awesome. And I know I've talked about this a lot because I've also talked about in the past how much there hasn't been a battle. So I got to give credit to where credit's due. At the series, the drivers, the teams have upped their game to create a battle, and it's not just 12 and everybody else. There is some competition going on down there, 12th, 13th, 14th back, which is awesome to have this late into the regular season in the Xfinity Series. Next race for these guys, doubleheader, Saturday, August 7th, Watkins Glen. I love the fact that all 3 are going to be there. It's been over 20 years since the Truck Series ran at Watkins Glen. You got to go all the way back to 2000. Greg Biffle picked up the last Truck Series win at Watkins Glen, so that's going to be exciting to see. I love that the trucks are going to some tracks that they haven't been in a long time. You know, they've recently gone back to Richmond, you know, which is awesome. You know, so that's great to see. Love the fact we're getting a doubleheader on a road course. That's going to be a lot of fun. So, all right. let's press on. Let's talk about this Cup Series race we had from Loudon. Crazy from the start, and it was hard to tell from a viewer perspective on TV that it was misting when they took the green. Apparently and obviously it was. And I got to give some major kudos to Kyle Busch, because I sent out a tweet like nobody is going to want to go and talk to him and get the earful that we would have expected Kyle Busch to give. And they didn't waste any time. They went right up to him after the incident, after he was out of the car, and which is something that I love that the sport does. You get that raw emotion, which is probably why a lot of people don't like Kyle Busch potentially, is because of the raw emotion you get, because he hasn't had time to, cool off or anything like that. Nonetheless, he was reserved. He had a grin on his face like, you know what? I just need to keep my mouth shut and just answer questions and be here so I don't get fined, basically. And I love that approach. And I thought that was great. Should we have started the race? Probably not. Does NASCAR probably agree they shouldn't have started the race? Yeah. For me, proof of that is the fact that they did not penalize the 18 for bumping the pace car. You maybe didn't know or see yet that the penalty came out. It was on jski.com. No penalty for the 18. So that's kind of, in my opinion, I could be dead wrong, but hey, you know what? Yep, we were wrong. So we're going to let that little kiss to the bumper of the pace car slide. And I'm okay with that. That's that's NASCAR's way maybe of not having to, publicly fess up, and that's kind of the way behind the radar, behind the scenes, everybody just kind of nodding their head a little bit there. So that's how I'm interpreting that. Like I said, could be dead wrong. Very reminiscent of what happened last year at Texas, which basically took Kevin Harvick out of contention for his Final Four spots, or his championship run there, and getting to the Final Four. So, it happens. It's a shame. It's not the last. It ain't the first, that this is going to happen. But let's talk about Aric Almirola for a minute. The 10 out of nowhere. Could you imagine the prop bet on any of, DraftKings sportsbooks, whatever the case may be, before the drop of the green flag at the Daytona 500? If there was the prop bet for each team on which driver would get the first win for the organization in 2021, Kevin Harvick probably would have been like a minus, 1,500, which means you'd have to put down $1,500 to win $100 when he picked up that win. The odds for Almirola probably would have been the exact opposite. You probably could have put down 100 and win 1,500, if not more. So just crazy to see that here we are, 22 races into the regular season. SHR has one win, and it's from Aric Almirola. Could not have picked that to save my life, but it's awesome. Great to see SHR. Kevin Harvick was up there, which was great. He was leading. He has barely led any laps. He led 65 laps. I think that's the most he's led in a single race all year, which is crazy to think of as well. So for that 10 team to be able to go out there, lead that race, hold off, Christopher Bell, Brad Keselowski, are they finding speed? Maybe a little bit. Are they going to have some earth-shattering last four races here before we get to the playoffs? Probably not, considering it's a road course and we've got a super speedway. Now we do still have to go to Michigan, my home track, which Kevin Harvick has dominated, but that's a track you need speed, and that's something that they just haven't had a ton of lately. They're slowly starting to find it, but we'll see. Maybe that's the ace in the hole there for that 4 team, and to get things fired up here before the playoffs start. We shall see. Christopher Bell dialing it in, couple second place finishes this year, which is incredible. Ross Chastain dialing it in lately, which is really cool to see out of the 42 car. 4 races to go in the regular season. Denny Hamlin, who's obviously looking good from a points perspective in first place, is still without a win. Kevin Harvick still without a win, which is crazy. We're 13 winners, 22. We would have expected those two cars to have a win. Denny Hamlin, obviously pretty good at the road courses. Maybe he picks up his first win of the season, gives us win number 14. Kevin Harvick maybe gets it done at Michigan. That gives us win 15. That would be pretty remarkable on the season. If we're able to finish with 14, 15 drivers in the regular season, we talked about it like crazy at the start because we went on that stretch. What was it, 7 or 8? Races we had a different winner, so obviously that becomes the talk. And when here we are closing in on race 26 and we're looking at that 13-14 mark, that's awesome. Who knows, maybe with the next gen car, maybe that parity gap closes even more, and maybe we do get that 16-17 winner, maybe not on a consistent basis, year in, year out. But, maybe every 3 years, if we get 17 different winners, one, that keeps the fans happy because that means there's a chance, some more winners, some more merch being sold, some happier fans, it's just this car that wins every week, The 9 ain't going anywhere from a road course perspective, right? We know that. The 19 isn't. So you're going to have a few repeats every year, obviously. But, we'll see what happens once this new car comes out and we go from there. I love the fact we got a teammate battle between RCR. Who would have thought? For, one of the final playoff spots there with Austin Dillon, Tyler Reddick. I love that aspect. It's going to get RCR some more attention, which is great. So all good things, except we've got a break coming up for 2 weeks here. So they'll get things fired back up. Watkins Glen, Sunday, August 7th. 4 more to go, which is just crazy to think. So, I think we got, 2 road courses, right? We got Indy. We've got Watkins Glen. We've got Michigan. And we've got the Daytona Super Speedway to close out the regular season. That's nuts. So, all right, there we are. We're moving along. See, man, I can get things done quick when I don't have 9 interviews in one show. Let's keep things going. Let's get to a little lap traffic social media. Hey, everybody, make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, YouTube, The Lap Traffic Podcast, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all at Lap Traffic PC. If you've made it this far into the show, leave a review. Thank you to all of the reviews from last week during Listener Appreciation Week. Appreciate you. You can tell your friends to listen to the show on iTunes, Podbean, or your favorite hosting site. Gave away a bunch of prizes last week, which was awesome. Hope you all enjoy that. Can't wait to do that again. Of course, we'll have some giveaways again throughout the rest of the season, of course. And picked up some new followers. Left Turnin at I Love Sandwich. The Kevin Harvick photo there from when Kevin Harvick took the little kid out of the grandstand, took a picture with him in front of the flag stand there. If that's you, that's awesome. That's so cool. David M.D. Chandler at David M.D. Chandler, former pro wrestling announcer. Hell yeah, I am so excited. I can't wait. Couple weeks. Sunday, August 1st, house show, WWE. Can't wait to get back to the arena and check out some wrestling. That's awesome. Brett Gruber at Gruber44. Brett loves dogs, vodka, sports. I'm with you, Brett, except for the fact you're a Buckeye fan. Go Blue. No, just kidding. Welcome aboard. Don't forget to go to angrybrew.com. Use code LAPPED, LAPPED, get 10% off. I mentioned it, like I said at the start of the show, stickers, koozies for free. If you want one, go to the website, fill out the contact page. I'll send them out to you. Got some new ones coming in. I ordered the bulk of the traditional, but hey, every once in a while I might throw in a random one and might even put it out there. If you get a random koozie and sticker from me, that might win you a, prize pack. So who knows? Always coming up with new ideas to keep things fresh and interesting for sure. All right. Got to move on and do a little silly season talk. Well, all right, because right now, normally, we'd be breaking into some weather with either Aaron Studwell or Brian Newdorf. And since there's no races for a couple weeks, they get a little frustrated because they got to predict the weather, 5 days in advance. If I were to have them on and ask them what the hell the weather was going to be like on August 7th on July 20th, they might kill me. So we'll let those guys have a much deserved couple week break in their rotation, and we'll throw in some silly season here. All right, so let's first talk about Matt DiBenedetto, because that came out earlier or later last week, whatever it was. And so here's where I'm at with Matt D. Love Matt DiBenedetto. Was leading the race. Could you have imagined if he could have picked up win 100 this past Sunday at Loudon? That just would have been so awesome, so incredible. There's obviously love between Matt D and the Wood Brothers organization and vice versa. And, I'm sure most of you have probably watched the video that Matt D put out when the announcement came out. And, for me, I've been saying this for a long time. Matt DiBenedetto needs a 3-year contract, no questions asked. And it's not to say that Matt can't go and compete and have to perform for his ride. But when you look at the things that Matt DiBenedetto has done in his career at the teams that he's done it, anytime he's gotten that 2-year ride, he's shown vast improvements with that organization. And we're not talking about an SHR car, an HMS car, a Joe Gibbs racing car. We're obviously talking about much lower funded teams. So here Matt DiBenedetto gets a chance at a let's call it a mid to upper pack. Let's give it a B+ team, right? And, first year, pretty good. Made the playoffs, off to a slow start. Things weren't clicking according to Matt and all that. Finally, things start to click. Boom, the announcement. Now, we all kind of knew that was coming. That was kind of the plan to begin with. Maybe there was some hope that things were going to maybe change, something like that. I don't know the ins and outs of that. But Matt DiBenedetto can race a car. We have seen him get finishes. He needs some consistency and all of that. And once that, I really think he could win. He said he could win. I think he can win. And I'm not saying that from a homer perspective. But I think he needs a 3-year deal. And I'll elaborate on that quickly because I know I've talked about it before. First year, you're getting the kinks worked out. You're getting used to a new team, new spotter, new crew chief, new car chief, all of that, right? So expectations are low for anybody when they switch over to a new team, right? So there's year one. Year two, you expect to see a little bit of improvement. You might have a little bit of a relapse as you really maybe make some big swings at things of that nature. And of course, as everybody else is growing around you outside of your team as well. Year three, boom, that's where you really should be hitting your stride from an organization standpoint. If everybody's able to keep together from, most of your pit crew, your car chief, crew chief, spotter, all that good stuff. So, and once too, you got that 3-year deal, that first year, all right, you know that you can get through the kinks. It reduces the stress level on everybody. And I think, and with the less stress, then you can go out there and worry about just performing and not fighting for your ride and what that next contract's going to be. So I really hope Matt D, next opportunity is a 3-year deal at least. And we'll see if that changes anything. So that's what I got on that. All right, now the big news, maybe the worst kept secret in NASCAR, is Keselowski's new venture with Roush Fenway Racing and partial ownership, driving, all that kind of stuff. Made a statement during the press conference comparing it to Tony Stewart when he moved over to Gene House. And, I think I've talked about this before in terms of, the big contracts, the Jeff Gordon contracts, the Jimmy Johnson contracts, those aren't there. The money's not there, because, you don't have that, DuPont, that low sponsorship throwing $40 million at your team for the year. You're fighting for a lot more with a lot less. And, so does Brad Keselowski deserve that? Probably. And it's just not there. So how, this is the new way, I think, of compensating for some of that. Brad obviously owned the truck team, didn't want to get rid of that truck team, but just it was just a money pit based on when he was running it and how the truck series was being ran and operated at that time. So he obviously likes the ownership side, wants the ownership side, doesn't want to leave the sport, wants to be able to transition at some point down the road from driver to owner. You've got this with Kyle Busch. I would expect once Kyle Busch is done running at the competition level that he's doing in the Cup Series, and where he can put more focus into other series, maybe we see him branch out into the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. We've seen Kevin Harvick with his Truck Series team and his Xfinity team. I think we're going to have these guys around in the sport for a very long time, maybe not from the driver's side, but, that is the kind of cool thing. If you were a Jeff Gordon fan and, you were upset when he retired, it's like, well, how do you pick a new driver? How am I going to pick a new driver when Kevin Harvick's gone? Well, it's a lot easier if that guy that you've been rooting for 20 years has a vested interest in another car or another team. It makes that a lot easier, and you can keep that same fan passion knowing that guy's behind it. So that might help keep some of the old guard from a fan perspective and all that. I think it's great. Ryan Newman, what's going to happen with Ryan Newman? When you look at that horrific crash he had, battled back. I know Ryan Newman takes a lot of flack from the fans, from the driver side of things. He's been around the sport a long time. Knowledgeable person. Is he the best on the track? Not anymore. He'd probably tell you that. Part of that's probably the equipment from Roush Fenway that Keselowski's hoping to up that ante. And that's something I've talked about for a long time, too, in terms of we need RCR to get back on the map. We need RPM to get back on the map. We need our Roush Fenway. You look back in the early 2000s, they had Greg Biffle, Carl Edwards, drawing a blank right now, and it slipped away. One of the real winners in this whole thing is Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher just inherited a top teammate that he's going to be able to lean on for information. And as that team gets better, Chris Buescher is in an awesome spot right now. And if I'm him, I'm real happy knowing that he's got a ride as a teammate next year with Brad Keselowski. That's pretty freaking cool. The silly season is really gotten into full swing early this year. When you look at, let's see, what do we got here? Well, who's changing? Drivers with contracts ending this year are Dillon, Newman, Almirola, Chris Buescher. Well, I think he's extended. McDowell, Ryan Preece, Eric Jones, Ricky Stenhouse. Bowman signed his 2-year new deal. We don't know the status of Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Cole Custer. So there's definitely some changes. We've got GMS going to be running in the Cup Series. We got Colleague Racing running. What's going to happen with Kurt Busch, with Ross Chastain. There are a ton of unknowns, so it's going to make the silly season and off season a lot of fun to watch. That is for sure. All right, let's keep things going. Let's get to this week's Lucky Dog Lap Down segment. You guys know the drill. After race weekend, tweet your Lucky Dog Lap Down picks. I'll read them back on the show. So I've got 2 Lucky Dogs this week, and that's the 10 team and the 18, because the 18, him maintaining composure, he deserves a lucky dog. Lap down going to NASCAR, as it has for a lot of you guys as well. You guys sent in some picks. I think the fact of NASCAR had an increase in the responses this week because of the lap downs, not the lucky dogs. But let's see what you guys had to say. Scott at 1985 Wagner, lucky dog multi-way tie between Almirola, Keselowski, Harvick, Logano, Stewart, House Racing, Team Penske. They have cars racing. Lap down has a tie also. Team Chevy can't break the curse, and Joe Gibbs Racing, other than Christopher Bell, have lost their magic. I like that. Jeff at JBev 1789, lucky dog. Did this maybe show NASCAR that we don't need traction compound? Sure hope so. Prefer it to be natural on asphalt, good or bad. I would say that really showed on Sunday's racing. We had a great race. Lap down, 2 weeks off. We'll enjoy the Olympics, but we'll be ready to go back NASCAR racing, and I will be ready to hop back behind the mic. Brian at Stormin B81, lap down NASCAR for the start. Lucky Dog, another different winner. Let's get 3 more. Hell yeah. Lap down NASCAR, should have never went green to begin the race. Jess at Iowa, NASCAR fan. Lucky Dog, the Fords came to play today. Huge win for the 10 team. Lap down NASCAR for not calling a yellow sooner with the rain. Rowdy at the Rowdy Dragon, Lucky Dog, the 10 car of Almirola. Damn good performance to get himself into the playoffs. Lap down rain would have been a great to see how the 10 stacked up against the 18 and 19. I'm with you there. Yeah, I got Rowdy. I got to go back to this for a minute because you mentioned, the 10 car, and I forgot to mention this during my talk about the Cup race. Like we got 4 races to go. Michael McDowell is on the outside of the top 16. He's getting a playoff spot. Almirola is in 23rd. He's getting a playoff spot. So what's that mean? That means Chris Buescher and right now Austin Dillon are out. But as I mentioned, you've got Tyler Reddick and Austin Dillon, who are only 5 spots separated from each other. Kevin Harvick's got a pretty decent, comfortable points lead. Will he get in? More than likely. But, the fact he's got 0 bonus points and isn't going to get many when they reseed, Harvick's going to have to win his way through the playoffs, and I just don't see that happening. I digress. Okay, back. Sorry for that short interruption, folks. Let's get back to the Lucky Dog and lap down picks. Rowdy. Did I do Rowdy? Yes, I did do Rowdy. Eddie at Eddie_EG3. Lucky Dog. Ford Camp came ready to throw down. Huge win for Eric. Lap down NASCAR by a lot. They need to be better when it comes to rain that close to the racetrack. Kristen at K Hoglin 79's Lucky Dog. Almirola for the most entertaining win and best burnout of the year award. Lap down to the Olympic break. I'm going to have withdrawals. Or no, sorry. Changing lines there. Let's back up. Kristen at K Hoglin 79. NASCAR. You let my fantasy pick wreck in the rain. Lucky Dog Christopher Bell for Xfinity win and second Cup finishes. Colin at Colin_with_cars. Lucky Dog to Almirola for the most entertaining win and best burnout of the year award. Lap down to the Olympic break. I'm going to have withdrawals. Mick at GoDucks42_Mick. Lucky Dog, Almirola, SHR, and Ford put on a show today. Class of the field. Lap down, NASCAR race control. Could you imagine if today was Phoenix and the championship contenders got taken out? That would be ugly. Yes, it would. Matthew at CH9SE fan. Lucky Dog. This week, my lap down is Joey's team getting caught on camera working under red. Lucky Dog is also Joey for overcoming 2 laps and driving back to 4th. Yeah, that's a hell of a car. That car had some speed to be able to do that. Couple breaks helping along the way. David at DFlint14. Lucky Dog. Almirola, Bugga Mike, the whole Smithfield brand team had the best car, won it. Lap down NASCAR for shortening the race. There was enough light to finish the 9 laps. So, all right, I'm going to comment on that for a minute. Because NASCAR made their thing, they didn't think there was enough light, and I'm surprised they didn't admit this because I don't think it would have been that bad of an admittance. Is that I personally think, as I'm calling out all my personal opinions on NASCAR today, I think part of that also had to do, obviously, TV time plays a role. Obviously, the fact that fans are there, they wanted them to be able to see the victory lane or the interview on the front stretch, and plus, obviously, now that teams are allowed back in victory lane, that is a time process there to get the car there. All of the photo ops that have to be done with all the different hats, the team, and all that takes time. So I think that also played a role in that. I mean, if you think about it, that car is in victory lane for a good 30 to 40 minutes post-race before they wheel it back to the garage. So I think that had a bigger role than just the fact that there were only 8 or 9 laps to go that they could have ran it. Robin at SF49er Girl 16. Lucky Dog is definitely Almirola. Lap down has to be NASCAR for the mess at the beginning when it was raining. Matt at Camper News Net. Lucky Dog, the racing without the PJ1 made for incredible racing. Lap down, NASCAR letting cars wreck in the rain. Yellow flag should have been thrown at least a lap earlier. Just a Golf Club at Just a Golf Club. Lucky Dog to David Starr getting a top 20 on Saturday. Lap down to Bubba Wallace. NBC didn't show it, but got into Alfredo. Cody Ware then took out Busher. Chris at USMC _ NASCAR Fire. Lucky Dog Almirola for one hell of a run. Lap down, NASCAR for going green when they really shouldn't have, even if it took out Kyle Busch. Chris at Chris Ford WF18. Lucky Dog Ford racing strong, showing with several cars in the top 10. A lap down, NASCAR totally ignored their turn one official saying it was raining, but went ahead and started the race. Steve-O from NASCAR rushed to be on TV to try to explain his way out of the mess. Night Sky at Night Sky. Lucky Dog Logano coming back to finish top 10 after going 2 laps down. Lap down NASCAR for not red flagging the race with the rain, missing drivers hitting the box during the choose, making rules up as they go. Linda at Linda JJ Cleaner L, Joey Logano for his comeback. Lap down NASCAR for causing the carnage at the beginning of the race. And wrapping it up, Justin at J Hughes 0113. Lucky Dog Logano lap down. Or Lucky Dog is Joey Logano. Lap down had to be Kyle Busch just because of the sucky situation he got put in. You guys came real strong this week. Love it. Can't wait. A couple weeks, you guys are going to be fired up to send some Lucky Dog and lap down picks. That's for sure. All right, let's close this thing out with a little lap traffic fantasy. Just a reminder, get your picks in by 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. But you've got a couple Thursdays before they're due for this week. Make sure you're using hashtag LTFantasy. 4 races to go before we have our playoff field set. And there has been a shakeup. And someone might miss it on points because of something that happened this week. So with that said, I did pretty well this week. Picked up 99 points with my picks of Allgaier and Keselowski. Top picks for this week was Seabell and Keselowski, which scored 113 points for Aaron Studwell, Brad Carnes, and Justin Hughes. Top 10, segment 2. Steven at DFS NASCAR with 1,099. Henry Fletcher in second with 1,047. Chad Robb, Glenn Atkins in third with 1,042. Matt Camper in fourth with 1,036. Joseph Scapino in fifth with 1,035. Stephanie Borges in sixth with 1,025. Jeff Bevan in seventh with 1,017. Kristen Hoagland in eighth with 1,005. Matthew Miles in ninth with 994. And Richard Cravens, which wraps out the top 10 with 987. Bonus points. Henry Fletcher is in first with 9. John Etwinsel is in second with 8. Brad Cards, Carson Hagelin, Chad Robin, Eric Sauter all have 6. And then the list goes on with people with 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 for their bonus points. Over to the cumulative standings here. This is where things really got interesting. All right, in first with 2,242 points, Henry Fletcher. In second with 2,183 is John Etwinsel. In third with 2,170 is Glenn Atkins. In fourth with 2,162, Jeff Bevan. In fifth with 2,155, yours truly from the Lap Traffic Podcast. In sixth with 2,154, 1 point behind me is our current segment 2 leader, Steven from DFS NASCAR. In seventh with 2,144 is Brad Carnes. Eighth, 2,141, Chad Robb. In ninth, 2,129, Pete Curvin. In 10th with 2,124 is Just Rose. And 11th with 2,114 is Just Neal. In 12th with 2,106 is Michael from the Blind Spot Pod. 13th with 2,104 is Matt Camper. 14th with 2,089, Joe Hewson. In 15th with 2,083 is Carson Hagelin. Now, I said things were interesting. We've got a 2-way tie for 16th between John King and Stephanie Borges with 2,080. And our segment 1 leader forgot to send in picks this past week, which dropped him down to 23rd with 2,034. And he's got the provision because he won segment 1. He automatically gets in, and we've got a 2-way tie for 16th. So, granted, I don't see there being a tie with 4 more weeks to go, but that's definitely going to be interesting. Someone ain't going to make it on points, which is so cool. All right, Lap Traffic Nation. I mean, I talked for 38 minutes. Not a guest, nobody, just me. I apologize if I bored you. Sorry there wasn't a guest this week. Just with the off weeks, nobody was really around. I think everybody's left the office in every team. So it was just me. I haven't done a show by myself in a long time. It was fun. So with that said, this is it for episode 251. This is it for a couple weeks. Like I said, my next show will be the Tuesday after Watkins Glen. I'll still, of course, be around on social media. Make sure you follow on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, all that good stuff at Lap Traffic PC. Catch you in a couple weeks. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Make sure you tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya.